8, I think.
Let's make sure. Is it 8? Is it 8, yeah.
Episode 8, Season 1, FutureSounds FM. We're back with a fully assembled cast, including Thom, who has become a dad since we last caught up. We've got Martin, who's about to head off to America. Rob, whose wife probably wouldn't let him if he'd have asked. And me, and I'm copping all sorts of flack for going myself, so I can't really talk either. Right. But yeah, it's good to have you guys back. We've got loads to talk about, including a new FutureSounds event, which has just been announced, with Cat System Corp headlining his first ever UK gig. That's on November the 12th, but we'll talk a lot more about that. We're going to kick you off with a track, though. This is from XWAVES' new album, Peak Internet. It's a track called Love.
Good tune, that.
Well, that was Love, which is taken from the new album Peak Internet, which is out now on My Pet Flamingo by XWAVES. XWAVES, as you may remember, released the classic Vaporwave for China, which came out on MPF. Before that, it came out on Q-Rates. And he's back after quite a long hiatus, and I think everyone will agree this is quite a triumphant return.
Something special, for sure. Where's he been hiding it?
Well, that's what everyone seems to be saying. It's a strangely muted response to it, though. I don't know whether there's a lot of people on holiday. I'll be honest here. I don't normally like to talk about sales because you can see when things are sold out and stuff like that. It's a slightly muted response in terms of the number of records sold, but I'm putting that down to a lot of people saving up their spondulas for all the events that are happening this summer.
And loads of people are away, man.
And people on holiday. But everyone who's listened to it, everyone who's reviewed it, is all talking about how amazing it is, and I have the feeling this is a sleeper hit right here, so I'm not nervous or concerned. I just encourage people to listen to it because the rest of the album's just as good as that track.
Enzo, who did the artwork on it?
Vanitas, who also did the artwork for Late Night Delight, and I'm trying to think what other things he's done for us. He's got a few things in the pipeline.
Vaporwave for China with the new art.
He did. You're quite right there. He did. And he's working on a new project for Nobody Here that we can't really talk about yet, but that's a nice little hint.
Too late.
There.
You just did.
I did mention it. It was shit. Spoilers. Thom, tell us, mate. How's it going? How are you
That's
enjoying
daddyhood.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, man, I'm loving it. It's completely mad. Like, the little boy doesn't know the difference between day and night, and as a result, I don't anymore. But it's lush, man. Just loving it. It's really good.
I love the picture you sent me and my brother of Ryland enjoying his first ever time.
He slept through it all. I had to kind of force him into celebrating.
Poppy did as well. All Poppy tends to destroy stuff. Like today, I was watching a bit of the Man United game, and I got so involved in it when Brighton scored that Poppy fell over and I didn't catch her. And she's got a slight black eye from the coffee table.
That's a cool social services.
Yeah.
I know. Honestly, she's
take
going
her
to
away.
stay. She's going. Katie's back to work. She's done a year of maternity leave, and she starts work again tomorrow. So I've got to take her up to her mum's. We've got like family childcare, which is really lucky. But she's going to be like, "What on earth have you been doing?"
Bad dad.
So,
When
yeah.
you say that she fell over, do you mean she was on your lap and you stood up very quickly to celebrate and she fell?
No,
off?
She's kind of getting more and more confident. So she was on her feet anyway. The problem is that we don't let her in that room very often. It's quite a solid, pointy edges.
Grown-ups
She's got
room.
a proper shiner. I'm pointing to like the bone on the side of your eye. There's a line there where you can see exactly where she's hit it. I felt
There'll be plenty more of those.
It happens.
mate.
Loads.
Yeah, they're indestructible kids, which is not true, but I'd like to. Makes me feel better anyway.
Don't leave them alone in the bath.
I've got a scar in that very point from walking into the door of that early learning centre.
Really?
Do they still exist?
Oh. Yes.
No,
They were
did
bought
they?
by the Entertainer toy shop.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. I've got a permanent
All
reminder.
right, so they do. Fuck, you're quick on the old Google today, Rob, or is that just a fact that you've got in the...
They're a client of mine. That's the only reason why I know that.
Okay, well, I'm not sure if we've done that justice. I know that you're loving it, Tom. I can tell that you're loving it, and I think we've all been there. So yeah, I'm just buzzing for you. The first few weeks are hard, but when he starts to understand a bit of what's night and what's day, like you said, I think it gets a little bit easier then if they sleep. So fingers crossed for you. But Rob, how you been doing, mate?
I'm good. Mine's 7 now, isn't he? So he's I'm all through that. Although he does still get the occasional black eye, more than occasional. Did we watch did your kids watch the Women's Euros?
Oh, yeah.
Because he was loving a bit of that.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I was all over
He
that.
really was so powerful.
It was great.
A friend of mine daughter was there, and I can't imagine what it must have been like for an 8-year-old girl to be watching that live. Pretty powerful stuff. But yeah, we're all good otherwise. Summer holidays now, so trying to get rid of them every day so I can actually get some work done.
Well, and we've got a heat wave on this week as well. Again, it seems it's come back.
No.
Yeah, well, it's up to 34 in Cardiff this week,
That's more.
right through till Friday. So yeah.
We can't complain because in
I'm
6
not
months'
complaining,
time, no, it's been we've had a decent summer. It's been hot, but
Yeah,
been
it's been
decent.
good. It's been good.
It's been good for getting out and about and doing stuff.
I just hope it holds in New York next week, Martin.
Yeah, true.
Is it the same kind of temp out there?
I can only remember the last time I went to Electronicon was 2 years ago, or 3 years ago it would have been actually, and that was around the same time, and it was absolutely boiling.
Cities feel so hot
So
in the
fingers
summer
crossed.
as well, man. All that asphalt and
Yeah, and there's quite a lot of the venues outdoors, I think, as well.
Have you boys all filled up your paddling pools before the inevitable hosepipe ban?
I did it today. I felt really bad. I felt like
No.
like a
Why
naughty
you can?
schoolboy.
While it's legal, it's all kosher. It's all good.
I had a neighbour here. He was hosing his steps with a jet wash as if there was no problem with water.
There was no tomorrow.
I was like, why are you hosing your steps? Come on.
That is luxurious.
I also appreciate this is quite niche conversation for a music pod, but hey ho, you know.
Well, we can edit this down. That's the beauty of it. Tom's taking the harsh cut to this.
I'm going to stretch it out. I'm going to vaporwave it.
Yeah.
Slow and reverb.
Paddling
Hose pipe band. Well, okay. Well, why don't we start with something a bit more useful then? We've just dropped tickets for FutureSounds 2, which is rather appropriately titled Double Vision. The artwork's been done by an amazing Andrew Walker, who runs Stratford Court record label. He's done a lot of art on records that you listen to. You might not even know that he did the art for, but that kind of archetypal sound that visual.
That kind of chill
Very
wave.
synesthetic of you, Enzo. You're seeing sounds.
Yeah, well,
Very
you know.
poetic.
Yes, indeed. Although it wasn't what I meant to say. But yeah, Andrew Walker runs Stratford Court. He's got a really clear and powerful visual aesthetic. You can see it through all the records that are on his label. And there'll be loads of records that you've listened to that you're not even aware the artwork was done by him. And he come up with something that he just nailed the concept straight away, didn't he, Martin? Like when we were talking about what we wanted, we kind of showed him a 90s rave flyer, one of the early Fantasia flyers, which is kind of like a hardcore show that was on in the early 90s. And it's exciting.
He understood the assignment.
It was because he did the cover for that album that you guys released recently. That was it by Persona
Lav and Baraka.
Oh, he did that.
That Vapor one. That those two heads just stuck in my. The visual of it sort of stuck in my head quite a lot. That was my kind of go-to reference when we were looking at ideas for the poster in the first place. I couldn't get that one out of my head.
Yeah, with the purples and greens, and it's very, very visually arresting. But yeah, so it's Cat System Corp's UK live debut, which is exciting. But we've also got loads of other amazing acts. So we've been talking about Pizza Hotline a lot online. He's doing an interview for the next episode of this podcast. He's going to be playing, I think we can call a PS1 jungle style set. He's got some new tracks that he's been working on for the Pure Life show that Thom went to recently. So Thom, you could maybe fill us in on that show as well. We've got Eve.exe coming down from Scotland, who's a future funk banger. Iverson, always a house favourite. And of course Donor Lens. And then maybe this time you and I will get to play our City Pop set.
You never know.
If we don't fuck up the sound checks again.
I might change it just to be annoying.
I bought a couple of records today. I'm going to send you some links. I know I sent you one of them this morning, but I'm going to send you some links. There's been and in fact, anyone who likes City Pop, there's today and over this weekend, there's a City Pop on Vinyl 2022 event. So it's like, I think it's either HMV or Tower Records in Japan have reissued a lot of the classic City Pop albums. Some of them are sold out already, but there's a Discogs shop. Shibuya. Anyone who's into buying City Pop will know them, and they're carrying quite a lot of stock from it. So there's like Cassiope, Mint Jams, and a load of others.
I'm going to go and check it out.
Yeah. Well, right now.
Not right now.
See you later.
I'll do it.
We sampled a track off that
on
the Midnight Store album. There's a track on that Cassiope album called Midnight Rendezvous. There's like a really brief snippet in one of the Midnight Store tracks on from Donor Lens.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to see how much City Pop's taken off amongst vinyl heads again. Yeah. And the records, like some of the classics, are worth £100+ 200 quid. Even with the reissues, it hasn't seemed to dilute the value of the originals. I guess that's probably the same. I don't collect vinyl that closely, but I guess that's probably the same. It pushes up the price of the original pressing, right?
I can't work it out. It seems to go one way or the other depending on what album we're talking about. There's been plenty of albums where they've re-released it, and I've had originals that where you look on Discogs and people are paying far less. But like you say, City Pop definitely keeps its value. My wish list is full of loads of them, but somewhere around about sort of £500 mark at the highest, which I'd never buy. I'm just looking for someone that one day accidentally puts one less zero in there and snap it up quick before they realise what.
There was a shop. I'm trying to remember. It doesn't matter now really because the stock's gone, but it came up on the Synthwave Vinyl Collectors group last week, and basically what must have happened is a huge wholesaler that has a massive Discog shop with about 70,000 records, and obviously someone's gone in there and they've gone, I don't know what this is Morgan Willis, I don't know what this is the Midnight, and they put like 20 copies of the Midnight's first Q-Rates release up for about £7. Without searching, and the average price used to be 100 quid plus for that. Yeah, because it's sealed. It hasn't got the instrumental tracks. It's literally just the vocals. It's like the crowdfund one they did before they got famous, and someone's had a right balls up there.
You get snapped up.
I got one, but I'm sure there were people who got more than a handful of them.
I managed to get them just after the Q-Rates itself. I managed to get one when they were selling them on their site before they had the kind of fandangle swish midnight store online that they have now. I picked one up for about £15, I think it was.
Yeah, it's mad. They just blew up suddenly, didn't they?
Yeah.
But But yeah, back to the event, I suppose. If you want to pick up tickets, if you're UK based, you can buy tickets now. Future-sounds.co.uk. The show's at Folklore, which is where we were originally going to do the first event. So it's kind of an intimate venue. Really aesthetic, really nice. There's an amazing pizza place on the corner, which I can't.
Yeah, yard sale. Shout out yard sale. Give us a discount.
Yeah, man.
What's the
You've
capacity,
played there before.
I've played Folklore's home turf for me. I've played there dozens of times. I had my 30th birthday there. It's super vibey place. It's kind of, I mean, we did some filming for Nobody Here there. It's got a really vibey live room. It's got a vibey bar. There's a cat that lives there called Manouche.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't ask for anything more. It's a really cool place. It's quite small. Comes a bit of a sweatbox, but
What's the capacity, Tom?
100
About 120. It's 120
Okay.
we've got.
Oh wow, it is intimate.
Yeah, so we had 150
Snap
for the
up the
first
tickets.
event, and we wanted to go bigger. The issue's been with late notice. I think we were a little bit burnt out with how hard it is to put on your first show. Then we all got busy, and then when we went to put on the second show, we underestimated how hard it was going to be to find a bigger venue in London. So the aim is to come back with a bigger capacity event in March. But what we've managed to do this time, I think, is tighten up the list of artists. But having Cat System Corp's a huge headliner, his first ever show in the UK, I think that's going to draw a lot of people in. And while he's with us, he's going to do an interview for the Nobody Here project, which is great because that's getting close to being done. But yeah, no, it's just exciting to do something and keep involved in the live scene. There's a lot on in November as well, which we also didn't realise. Suddenly there was a Carpenter Brute gig being announced. There was a Joy Bishop show.
It's a Pitchfork Festival.
With Clanton. So there's
Clanton,
Vaporwave happening too, you know. So I think it makes sense to do something more intimate and focus on having a smaller number of really, really good acts, and then come back with something a bit more day festival-y next year, I think.
Yeah, and it will be a great night.
Makes
It's
sense.
that kind of, as Tom says, it's a great venue, really great venue. I've been there a couple of times now, and I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, Saturday the 12th of November. We're going to start around 6 p.m, I think, and then we'll finish when we finish.
We've had a few people comment saying, "Oh, London, it's always London." We have got big plans to take something abroad next year, and we are also, as Tom, I think you replied to someone earlier on, didn't you? Just saying, look, we are going to take this outside of the M25 orbit.
And you guys did Leeds recently, and there's other stuff happening. Space.
Yeah,
Jam,
you've got Jack
Bristol's,
doing stuff in Bristol as well.
Future Sounds are levelling up. That's what we're doing.
leveling up.
Oh, don't.
As Glenn would say, that's enough politics.
Yeah, the Big Vapor Society.
I was going to bring some politics back into it, but I don't know whether that's a good idea or not. But I saw a good hot take on the subject of city pop, which was, I saw a discussion on Twitter between Male Tears, who's kind of associated with the vapor scene but makes kind of gothy pop stuff, really good, and an artist called Eliana D'Angelo, and they were discussing how people, like a certain sort of community of internet music fans, will only listen to kind of funk music and house music if it's, performed by Japanese people and called city pop or future funk. When this is essentially black music, but black people are being airbrushed out of the story. I thought it was quite an interesting discussion, and I think there's some truth in it.
Yeah, man. Same arguments have been had since the rock and roll days.
There was on Reddit, on the City Pop Reddit, some sort of quite sweet but naive user was like, "Oh, I've been listening to Off the Wall by Michael Jackson. I'm hearing some city pop influences in this." Come on, as if the influence is that way around.
Come on, the timeline though. Even the timeline's not.
And it's the same bloody musicians.
That's not hard to check.
You look at the session musicians who are playing on Off the Wall and stuff, and then you look at some of the credits on the big city pop albums, and it's the same bloody musicians being flown over.
It is, yeah, that's crazy. But I do like, I haven't read the article or the argument in detail, so I don't want to jump in and take a side, but I do find the origin story of city pop quite interesting when you consider the post-war influence of America on Japanese society and young people, and them creating something for themselves. So almost like this fusion of the music they've been force-fed by American GIs, presumably, and the traditional side of things, and incorporating their own instruments. And there's something about that. Which is quite naive and beautiful, rather than sort of like it's not kleptomania. Well, I mean, it's stealing in a good way. Everyone's channeling their favorite.
It's not just funk songs sung in Japanese as well. There's one extra degree of kind of originality injected into there, isn't it?
And like the stuff like Cassiope, and then you can go beyond that. Outside of the funkier stuff, you've got some really experimental stuff, which is much more jazz influenced than funk. And I know they're maybe branches of the same tree in some respects, these musicians, but there's some really experimental, less dancey city pop, or maybe you wouldn't even call it city pop, but it leads you to explore.
I think that jazz sounds have kind of lingered longer in Japan than they have in America, you know, like the jazz being like the predominant music, or those jazz sounds kind of seem to have lasted longer and kind of prevailed longer, and then seem to be kind of coming back into big mainstream American music as well, and it never left in Japan.
Do you know what I'd like to do? I think we can do this for the next series when we come back after the summer. I think we should get someone like Van Porgrim on, and we can talk a bit about city pop, because he's got some strong opinions on it. He's got a very big record collection. He takes himself around the world playing vinyl sets. He's been invited back to Japan several times to play shows. And
I was looking at his website this week, because he's got a blog.
He's done a lot of top
really,
fives and top tens, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's got it's really well written, and he had a really interesting take. We won't go into it today, but about this sort of post vaporwave movement and the more the kind of visually aesthetic part of it, and it was very interesting read. I'll put it that way. It was fascinating.
Cool. Well, yeah, we're going to interview him for the film as well. I think he's going to be in London, in fact, in October. So that might be a time to do it, Tom. Maybe we can get him into your studio.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll be down there filming him anyway. That sounds like a great idea. Cool. All right. Well, why don't we talk about some of the tracks we've been listening to? Let's kick off with you, Tom.
Yeah, for sure. So my track is a song by an artist called Eulalie, who's actually a Japanese artist, kind of linking on from what we were just talking about. Kind of became aware of her music, really having seen her perform at the Pure Live event the Friday before last, which was at the Glove That Fits in Hackney, Dalston kind of area, organised by a Pure Life label, which is, you know, a dream punk, ambient IDM label in our kind of broader internet music world. They're run out of Manchester, and actually their co-owner is a Ukrainian guy who I think has escaped. But anyway, they put on an amazing weekend of events. I could only get a sort of freedom pass to go to one of the events on account of new dad status. But yeah, I went to the Friday night event, which was more of like a kind of dance event. And yeah, the first act I saw was this Japanese artist called Eulalie, who's from Kyoto, and she plays kind of ambient, dream punk, kind of sort of tunnel techno kind of stuff going on in there, and she does her own vocals over the top, and she's got a very cool, almost Vocaloid kind of delivery, like sort of Hatsune Miku, sort of that kind of thing, like really uncanny vocals. And so the track that I'm picking is called In Hindsight, came out last year, and it's got a bit of all of that in it, a bit of the ambient stuff, a bit dream punky, got some techno beats that come in towards the end, and it's got some very sort of distant whispery vocals in there as well. Very cool. And yeah, I met her and she's lovely.
And she'd come over from Kyoto for just that one event.
She'd come over for a weekend of events. So she played the Dalston event, which was kind of like a more high octane kind of dance event. Then the day after, she played an ambient set at a venue in sort of Waterloo area called Eclectic, and that was like more of a kind of ambient surround sound with visuals kind of event. Then I believe she played one more event in
the local one. There's a local
Todd
one.
Morden, I think, is the place near in Yorkshire, I think, which is where Andy from Pure Life is based, I believe. Lovely guy, really, really nice. The best thing about this event really was meeting people. Like, the music was wicked. There's all these sounds that I used to go out clubbing to in the 2010s. I don't know if they're called that, 2010s. I remember like these kind of dubstep, post-dubstep, sort of future garage type sounds that were big in the 2010s, all coming back again, and that was the sound of the evening, really. These kind of dark, moody beats. In fact, one of the artists on the bill, Hightower, was I was a big fan in the 2010s, and he was a last-minute booking, standing in for somebody who couldn't make it because of the train strike, I think. And yeah, Hightower's wicked.
So he crossed the picket line.
Scab!
That's enough of politics.
That's enough politics for one day, Rob.
Amazing event. I wish I'd caught the second event, because would have been really nice kind of double header, having like a sort of big high octane kind of dance event, and then really winding down with some sort of live ambient stuff the day after. But yeah,
I liked what you said. I liked what you said when you described it as this dark, moody beats and music, and then just the most beautiful people. Mm-hmm. And that's so often the way.
Yep. Yeah, you might expect some people to be quite edgy or spiky because the presentation is quite austere, but like, that's what they say about metal fans, isn't it? Like the scariest, the people who make the scariest metal music or are into the scariest metal music tend to be the most lovely.
Like Eddie in Stranger Things.
Yeah, true fact.
Lovely guy.
He didn't kill no one. Leave him alone.
He really didn't. Exactly. That's a spoiler. If anyone hasn't seen it by now, then fuck them.
Exactly.
I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any of it. I'm just watching Better Call Saul and the bloody Arsenal documentary.
Yes.
Let's not talk about it. I did. Well, we can talk about that later. Actually, yeah, we can mention.
I thought this was a football and parenting podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I did a little. I went down the rabbit hole, as it were, and I ended up looking. I think it was. Is it called Kevlar Studio? Did the art for the poster? They do a lot of the art. They might have done the art for
maybe the
Hotlines album.
Okay, yeah, the Rashida Prime album, maybe. But yeah, a lot of the Pure Life stuff.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
But if you scroll through, there's a lot of things that you might not have known was them, but they do a lot of this stuff for that label, and some incredible art, and we've been chatting to them in the last couple of days about doing some stuff for us.
One thing I've noticed more and more happening is albums being presented. They have a main visual artist who designs the cover, but employing somebody else to do the design. I think with MPF releases, most often it's the same person who does the artwork and the formatting, but
with the exception, though, of when you re-release a classic, quite often the hardest challenge that you have to overcome. This might be interesting. It might be boring for some people. I'll keep it brief. But like, one of the hardest challenges you might have, say for example, if you wanted to do Hit Vibes, I'm just picking that randomly. We're not doing a repress of Hit Vibes, so don't get excited. But the cover art itself is quite low res. So by the time you've zoomed it out to 12 inches, don't forget all these early vaporwave albums were designed to just be displayed on the internet. They didn't give any thought to expanding it infinitely for large posters and stuff like that. So you've got to find a way to make it presentable on a bigger palette or canvas, and then do all of the track listing and all of the other design to it. So we do work with Glenn a lot, and we've been doing some stuff with him recently. So he did some stuff with Micro Matte Scenes, and he did a classic Wave Shaper album that we're working on, where he's taken the original cover and he's managed to still blow it. It's I don't know how he's done it. I think he might have used AI to some degree, like as in like the inbuilt engines in Photoshop to improve the
enhance.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not supposed to be able to do that.
He's created the rest of the cover is just he's created a world from using elements from the original art, and it just looks. I can't wait for the record to come. I think it's gonna be beautiful.
He called me about it because I think he was quite chuffed with himself when he managed to do it, because as he explained, it was a real ball ache to try and figure it out. But from the sounds, I've not seen it, but from the sounds of it, it sounds like he's done a bloody good
Well, the
job
first
there.
thing he said to me when I sent him the picture was, he said, "Is that the biggest one you've got? Because it's, you're probably fucked. You'll have to do whole new art for it." And you don't want to do that because that's kind of a moment in history. And we've seen the controversy when you reinvent artwork for things like Late Night Delight.
I was about to say, is Late Night Deluxe, is that right? Is that the reason? Late Night Delight, even. Is that the reason why the artwork changed? Because the original was low res?
The one I did
Vanitas.
with the help of my friend Sean, the first time we pressed it on vinyl, I took the same idea of using the Moon Man, but I used a more colourful McDonald's kind of inspired piece of art, and then we got the cover art from that. But this one was completely new design. But yeah, the main reason is because the original art, as nice as it is, as iconic as it is, just can't be blown up. It's too muddy.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, that's the kind of thing that you find yourself. It's one step is to secure agreement to put these things like these Holy Grail records on vinyl. The next is to work out a way in which you can present it without looking shit. So yeah,
Circular trade.
But yeah, let's
insight into Enzo headaches there.
Yeah.
that's my day job, is just dealing with things like that. Yeah. All right, Rob, how about you? What have you been listening to this week?
Yeah, on my radar, it's a Brothertiger track that was originally released last year. He's a great guy, based from born in Ohio, based in Brooklyn now. We had him on the Forever Synth show last year. But it is a new remix from a new EP remixes. It's the track Heaven, and this is the Fire-Toolz remix. If you don't know about Fire-Toolz, they are Angel Mark Lloyd. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Very, very eclectic producer. I think living in Chicago. Do you know a little bit about Angel, don't you, Thom?
Yes. Yeah, so she's mastered a couple of our records. And yeah, she kind of masters the big records in the sort of kind of post-vapor world. And but yeah, she seems to have a kind of finger in every kind of alternative genre, internet genre out there.
What was interesting about this is less a remix, it's more of a redo. And I think you told me, Thom, that she tends to just re-record the vocals on the remixes she does. So it is Fire-Toolz singing, very closely resembling the original Brothertiger track. And it's a great tune, but yeah, as you can imagine, it's kind of post-vaporized from the original. So I'd give both a listen, but I'm going to play the Fire-Toolz remix. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to interview her for the film. We were originally going to go to Chicago next week. That was our first stop, but the flight.
She lives in the burbs now as well. She's kind of moved to
Woodstock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's very kindly agreed to host us as well. So we were going to go out there. She was going to recreate her studio and stuff. And unfortunately, when we went to, by the time we got our work visas, the flights had jumped so dramatically we can't afford to go there. So we're finding another way. She's still going to be in the film, but I'm looking forward to talking to her. I think she's just an incredibly talented person. And
I saw that she had an appearance on Tim Heidecker's show on Adult Swim. I think I can't remember what his show's called, but she's had like a huge opportunity. I mean, she's kind of like really kind of exists on the cusp of the mainstream, which is crazy for an artist who's so uncompromising. But I know that she masters like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard albums and stuff. Like she's like has dabbles with fame much more than any of us do.
Really?
Yeah.
That's mad. Because it's interesting because they're a big band. Like I'm aware of them outside of previous to any vaporwave.
Yeah, well, it's got nothing to do with vaporwave. It's just she's a skilled mastering engineer in her own right, and she's one of very few people in our world who does this full time.
But where the connection to me came back around was that one. I think it might be Petrodisc or Fish Prince Records. One of them. Basically, this band have effectively said to people, do your own pressings of our album, we don't care.
Yeah.
And I don't know which album it was or whether it was all of them. I can't remember exactly. It's probably something that can be really easily found out online, but effectively you saw about 5 or 6 different labels putting out versions of this album on vinyl because they just said, just go do what you want to do with it. Which is kind of crazy. This in a world where there's so much tight control of copyright and stuff, for a band to be that free and
maybe they see the value in people
putting things in people's hands.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing like it. Word of mouth.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Martin. What about you, mate?
Yeah, it's been about a month, isn't it, since we probably did the last one. I went to a Cass is Dead concert about 3 weeks ago at where was it? South Bank, and it was more of a kind of he's sort of an R&B artist, but he's got a lot of synth and kind of vapory influences in a lot of his beats that he's been pulling out in the last couple of years, I think. And it kind of after going home from that, it sent me down a bit of a rabbit hole of looking at some of the more vapor trap side of things in the genre. And some of it's all right, some of it's great, some of it's sort of struggling with a little bit. But as I was going through, I ended up sort of sliding along a bit more of a chill wave, almost like a sort of jazz, the kind of more jazz-influenced vaporwave stuff. So this week, I thought I was going to go with the track's called Marauder. It's from the album released in January from Oblique Occasions, which is Anathema. Now, I personally, to my own detriment, hadn't come across the artist or the album at all until about last week. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but it's really, really nice, sort of good, sort of jazzy, sort of vapor vibe to it that has just been working with the nice warm weather, putting it on the background, sort of working. So I was going to go with that this week. It's a smashing album. I think it's been released on vinyl through Allo City, who are the UK.
Yes.
Because they are doing a special on their fan club. So they've still got a fan club pressing, but the rest of it's completely sold out. So I may have to join the fan club. Nice. I'm not too sure. But yeah, the track's called Marauder. It's the second track on the Anathema album for Oblique Occasions.
Barber Beats thing, right?
Yes, I think so. That I'd read somewhere about
The
it.
artwork is definitely in that sort of haircuts for men, sort of kind of Da Vinci diagram kind of vibe. It's a very. I'm looking at the cover right now. It looks wicked.
I don't know if you guys saw, I put a call out via the NPF Twitter feed the other day asking people to send fresh Barber beats. And we were inundated with suggestions and stuff. Because I've been listening to a lot of the stuff Allo City's put out, in fairness. Macro Blank, for example. Godspeed, a few people. And one of the things that come off the back of that tweet was Vanitas, who we were talking about before, sent us. He's done some, I suppose you'd call it, where the artwork's very inspired by Barber Beats. He's designed it himself. The music is all pretty much sample free, I believe, as well. So there's quite a few artists who are trying to start to do that, which is, I think, is an interesting term for the genre, because some of the critics of Barber Beats have said that maybe some of Haircuts for Men's work it wasn't particularly transformative on the original samples. I mean, there's a lot of that in vaporwave generally. It's not. That's kind of the point of a lot of it anyway. Take a loop and like repeat, add some reverb. I mean, there's a lot of that music out there, so it's hardly fair to just call him out on that issue. But there's been some critiques of Barber Beats in that sense. So it's quite interesting to see producers starting to put an original touch on a lot of it. But I've been listening to a lot of that stuff as well. I'll check
It's
out
lovely.
that album.
It's just, I think it's just been, maybe it's the time of the year, or the kind of, I'd say it's definitely...
It's just chill, isn't it?
Yeah, and my music sort of avenues are very much kind of weather related as well. If it's hot and sunny outside, there has to be something quite chilled out on indoors. So, but again, I think on the Barber Beats piece, I had read a bit about it. I think some people feel a little bit too controversial about it in terms of what, feeling it's sort of straight, as you say, either a straight up copy or not a lot of imaginative work going into it. But what I've listened to has been enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, and it's bollocks anyway, because it's all recontextualized. That's what vaporwave is.
Exactly.
We can't get snobby about anything. Really,
You could say that about early hip hop. They just straight up played existing tracks, but as well, there's something to be said for that, because you are introducing those original tracks to a new audience who might go and revisit and rediscover. So there ain't nothing wrong with introducing older artists from other eras to new eyes and ears and hands.
The Kate Bush effect.
Yeah. Although stop covering, running up that hill.
It's like a curatorial skill.
Yeah. It's like that. It's like being a really obscure DJ who's like digging in the crates and saying, "Have you heard this? I'm going to present it to you in this way."
There's a world of difference between someone in 2022 now taking a Michael Jackson sample and looping it, which would have been acceptable 10 years ago when St. Pepsi first started doing it, and others. But now, for someone to do that, and then for them to
ZAYAZ
dig in the crates,
and I think he was pretty young thing or whatever, but he chose such a niche little sample of that song that you could barely recognise it. I think he called
and Lola Disco's done it with quite a few Madonna songs as well, like really baked Madonna songs, but they just sound transformed. And I want to say it was either Lola Disco or Melanade. Someone did Rick Astley as well. But they took it so sparse. They took such sparse sections, such short sections of it that you don't feel like you're being rickrolled by listening to it. Put it that way.
There's a skill in that, man.
I remember when Kanye West blew up and being like thinking that there was no talent in just taking the obvious hooks of big songs and making them the centerpiece of your own tune. And that was my like snooty opinion, aged like 13. But now I just recognise them as bangers. Like they were bangers then, they're bangers now. Like, so what?
I did feel the same. I was kind of triggered. I'll be honest with you. I was quite triggered by the 21st Century Schizoid Man sample, because I'd not long spent a whole month or two just getting.
Oh, you're a big progger.
I've got it on vinyl. Well, I'm not, but I do. I mean, my dad used to play it when I was a kid, and so that album in particular is an absolute classic. It's that song. It's got the freak out section in that is just some of the best instrumentation you'll ever
think
hear.
about the audience that Kanye West is introducing that kind of thing to. Like it's not an obvious King Crimson listening audience, is it? So I think that's pretty amazing.
You are right. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. I've changed.
Yeah, me too.
Changed. We've all changed.
Sure, like fine wine.
But yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said about a curatorial role. If you're picking things and recontextualizing them, that's your role. It's like a DJ. The DJ doesn't necessarily produce his own tracks, though some do. But what they do is they put a collection of tracks together and they create a vibe and they entertain people, and that's a skill in and of itself. So I'm all good with it. We're all good with it. So yeah. Well, I'm going to pick my pick for the week. I want to give a little shout out to ZAYAZ because I was going to pick his new track. I've been listening to that a lot.
It's wicked. Black Tide, is it? That's such a good tune.
No, I was listening to Chromeboy. I've been slamming Chromeboy, which come out on the 5th. So that literally came out on Friday. That's a new release. But unfortunately, I am for ZAYAZ, although hopefully people will. We can include the links for both anyway, so people can check it out. I stumbled across Selections Volume 6, which is Mitch Murder's latest
Odds and sods, aren't they?
Yes, it's a long-running series of offcuts, oddities, and basically just unreleased gold. The track that I'm going to pick is called Assembly Line, and in all honesty, if you listen to it, it won't necessarily sound all that different to like your archetypal Mitch Murder track, which kind of makes the title a bit ironic, I suppose, but that is what I love about it. Without the album's blurb, you wouldn't be able to place when the track was made. It's classic synthwave. It's got top-notch production, as you'd expect from Mitch Murderer, but it's kind of a callback to the early Outrun sound, which is, I don't know what you guys think. It seems to have all but died from the modern synthwave scene, and having someone this good in Mitch Murder out there to remind us that Outrun, still has that kind of room, that place in the scene is a pretty timely reminder. There's enough copycat midnight acts out there, and I just love this track. And massive shout out to Mitch Murder. This track is called Assembly Line.
seen must have been on one of the forums somewhere, probably on Facebook, one of the Synthwave groups. Someone was complaining, saying that the time of anonymous artists and anonymous producers is over, and people like Mitch Murder need to show their faces, because I want to see what their face looks like, and I want to be able to understand who the person is behind the music. And
but what right? Have you got to? No one ever got Daft Punk to take their fucking mask off.
That's what I mean. It just became a case of, well, why? You're harassing the poor guy if he goes to an event. Like, his anonymity must make his life so easy if he wants to just pop out to events and he can see other artists. But I know that Alex Kalinsky, Highway Superstar, he chats to him and speaks to him quite regularly. And I don't know whether they FaceTime, but they converse and talk quite a lot. But I don't think he's ever even met him either. So
we've been chatting a bit recently about a different project, which is not a Mitch Murder product. It's one of his other aliases, which could be exciting, but he's a busy man, so it's kind of, as with everything, it's just waiting for the right time to do that. But I don't know, that kind of, there's a sense of entitlement or expectation of what you want to hear sometimes. If you go through the Synthwave not vinyl collectors group so much, the UK Synthwave group, you've got the people who are saying how angry they are, or they sound angry about the Midnight's new stuff. I'm not a massive fan of the new stuff. I think it's gone too far down the rock side of things, but I respect their right to do whatever
they can do what the shit they want.
And they are further exploring a different aspect of 80s music by introducing that kind of cock rock element to it, if that's fair way to describe it.
No, I think that is fair.
But I just don't understand why people get so annoyed. But it's not new.
They're not making it for you. They're making it for them. No. Don't buy it if you don't like it.
Yeah.
I find the kind of the heavy Midnight fans and the kind of, well, I could say extreme Midnight fans or extreme Gunship fans, they all consume, and they'll happily, most of them will like whatever's been released, but they do get very emotional about it. It becomes very kind of strange to see such intense opinions on things, I guess you could say is the best way.
Cult.
Well, the cult of Gunship's real as well.
Well, yeah. They'll sit around campfires being interviewed.
I love it.
Only make the same music.
It's kind of the same with, like, was it the guy from Kings of Leon saying, you guys only want to hear fucking Sex on Fire? And it's like, well, they took the decision to, I can remember reading an interview, because I used to love them in the early days. Their first couple of albums were, I was right into.
They were great, man.
And I remember reading an interview with, was it Caleb? It might be Caleb, the singer.
So, yeah.
And he said that people were complaining they couldn't understand the words they were singing, and so they made a conscious decision, I think, to start dressing in Topshop clothes and singing more clearly, and then they created Sex on Fire. So there's kind of a beast that is of their own creation, I'm afraid. I've got little sympathy. They spoilt my love for their band, but again, I sound like a Midnight fan.
Kings of Leon had to abandon a show because the pigeons kept on shitting in the guy's mouth from the rafters.
That sounds like a euphemism and, a reality.
Boo, play your early
analogy.
stuff.
I want to hear Molly's Chambers, man.
Gotta change your mind.
Meanwhile, there's 14-year-olds screaming they want to hear Sex on Fire, so no one's a winner.
Go down any local London pub on a Friday night, you hear a cover band playing Sex on Fire. Don't worry about it.
I saw I think they're headlining the Boardmasters Festival in Newquay in the summer, which is like a surf and music festival. I used to go to it quite a lot way back, sort of 15 years ago. But I did see that they're headlining the Sunday, I think. But it will be very much just a sing-along, I think, by the time they get on.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Speaking of festivals, Martin, we're going to New York next week.
No, you're going next week. I'm going the week after. You're there a bit longer than me. But
so I'm off. We're flying on Tuesday the 16th. So
I'm on the...
You're going on the 18th.
That's not next week, is it? It's week after next.
No. Yeah. Well, today is Sunday, so it's not this Tuesday, but it's next week.
It's the following Tuesday. Oh, of course, because Sunday's the first day of the week. So technically, I've confused myself. Yeah, that's right. We're going to New York next week. We are essentially going... Well, you're going for a few things in terms of the kind of Nobody Here movie. I'm going
Should I do a little bit of spoilers? Shall I tell people a little bit about who we're interviewing? I'm sure people will be interested. So some of this stuff's not absolutely locked in terms of times and dates, but... We're going to be speaking to... So we were going to go... I said this before. We were going to go to Chicago. We were going to speak to Van Porgum. We were going to speak to Synchro Start. We were going to speak to Fire-Tools. But we've had to move some of that stuff around. So instead, we're grabbing Equip, who's also from Chicago. We're grabbing him in Brooklyn. We're still trying to tie up Death Dynamic Shroud while we're there. FM Skyline's in. We've got John Zabeel, who's Business Casual, the record label. A release every Friday, absolute classic label. Indie Advant, who is involved with Tiger Blood Tapes, and also Utopia District. We're speaking to Whitewoods, Dan Mason, Skeleton Lipstick, Saint Pepsi, Vaporor, Mesh, all sorts.
You're speaking to.
Yeah,
that's a big tick.
Anyone and everyone. Quite a few people. We were going to speak to Lux while we were out there, but we're going to do that because she wants to be off camera. We're going to do that after the event because it's going to be busy enough as it is. Because it seems like there's like a little bit like that Pure Life weekend that Thom went to last week in London. There's just events popping up everywhere. So on the Friday before, there's a tape swap that we're vendors at as MPF, and there's all sorts of people playing. The great and good of Vaporwave is descending upon Brooklyn for 3 days.
Oh, man, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I think I was really quite determined to go when it popped up because, of course, it's been so long with COVID and all that sort of thing. I think it's back in. Did you say, Vince? Is it back in the original location it was when they did it in New York the first time round?
It's still in Brooklyn, but it's at a new venue. So I can't remember the name of the one. This one's at Knockdown Centre.
Knockdown.
So it's a slightly different part of Brooklyn. I think I want to say it's up near Queens. I should know this. We've got the Airbnb booked and everything, but I haven't looked too tight because the places that I need to lock in for me when I'm going to New York are a day at Coney Island on the beach and the brewery. So if you are around still when we go there, that would be cool because the brewery's amazing on the beach.
Yeah, I should be. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, Rosetta's pizza place as well for anyone who's going there.
Oh, you've talked about it before. You said that's like an amazing pizza place. Your missus found it, didn't she?
She did, yeah, when we went on holiday there, and I've been back there every time since. And then there's Sundays in Brooklyn as well. But Roberta's pizza place is... you can never get a table immediately, but they've got like an outdoor garden, so it's like a beer garden it doubles up as, and with the weather being good, hopefully it's just perfect. I love Brooklyn anyway. It's my favourite place in the world.
Yeah, me too, man. For those that can't make it over, like myself, some of those artists like George Clanton, Negigemi, Death Dynamic Shroud, who you mentioned, are going to be in London Fabric in November in that week of superb gigs like the Future Sounds one. Yeah, me too. Yeah. So I think we're probably all going to that.
Yeah.
So you can make some of them, but man, I'm envious that you're going over there. Sorry, Fakeman, what were you saying?
Oh yeah, it was just about Brooklyn. I think it was. So when I've been to New York before, it's always just been bloody Manhattan. So I'm looking forward to. I've been out to Brooklyn but not stayed there, so I'm looking forward to it being a little bit of a different experience as well. And like you say, there's a lot of events. There's something most days. I think I'm there till the Monday or the Tuesday. The Monday, I think it is. So we got plenty of opportunity to pack stuff in, but it should be good fun.
I went to the Knitting Factory a few times. That's quite a big venue.
Yeah. I think I saw an FM. I saw the Midnight there or FM84.
Oh, really?
I think it might have been. I forget where it was now.
You're right, Globetrotter.
A few years
You're
ago.
right, Globetrotter, Martin.
I tried to be.
Oh, you really are.
It depends if you've got the money. You've got to be able to put the money aside, otherwise it's
Flights have gone up. That's definitely something I've noticed. And also, I don't know if you've noticed yet, because I haven't converted my money yet, but I did notice the dollar's doing really well against the pound. So we're not going to have much cash to play with while we're there. Whereas when I went there the first time, like 20 years ago, it was almost $2 to a pound.
Yeah,
wow.
I think it's
like much closer to 1 for 1, 120, 130. Yeah,
but we'll be all right. I think we'll just get. I'm just going to drink on the plane.
Go to a supermarket. We'll be in the Airbnb drinking and turning our garden into like a pub beer garden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think the best thing about these things, from my experience, having gone to the first one, is just the amount of people from the community just together, just having everyone together. That's the best thing. Meeting people that you've spoken to online. Like, I've had people come up to me because the first thing I saw when I walked into the first Electronicon was someone wearing an MPF shirt, which was like,
no way. For us,
we were not long set up. Maybe we'd been going for 2 years at that point, and that was quite a surreal moment.
That's cool.
To have someone, wearing a My Pet Flamingo t-shirt, and then we had people coming up to us, oh yeah, my name's so-and-so, and you're like, I do the labels every week, so I know I've sent you records so many times. Like I could almost tell them what street they lived on. You know, the amount of times you've dealt with people and putting names to faces is just a beautiful thing.
Oh man, I'm so jealous. I'm looking at the lineup for the tape swap, and that's making me feel more envious than the main event, to be honest. Because what you were saying about people who we chat to online, like Data Girl, JPEG Stripes, Pad Chennington, N-Rail, or these people who I chat to all the time online who I've never met in real life. I'm getting emotional.
Get some nice remixes, don't I? Oh,
but you know what? We were talking about this, and it's really important because I think people do feel like everything is centered, like it's either Brooklyn or it's Los Angeles, or it's London. You know, it's these big places. But having the opportunity for us to take our thing to America or to Canada next year, I think is where the aim is at. That's what we're hoping to do with the Future Sounds event, is to take it across. And hopefully do something big enough in the UK or in Western Europe where we'll get the same kind of surge of people from across the continent to be there, because we'll have such a big lineup. We'll be able to pull something. It's like almost like creating a nexus, which is what Clanton was talking about when we interviewed him a while ago. And it's like the vaporwave scene has needed that for a long time. It's all been online, that instant communication you can have, but meeting people that you've spoken to for the last, in some cases, people have spoken for 5-10 years, since the early days, and then met for the first time at Electronicon. There were people who've been friends online for 7 years at that point. It's crazy, but that's wonderful. That's what it's all about.
Can I give a shout out on that note? So at the Pure Life event, I met Liam Murphy, who runs the Listen Corp blog and magazine, and it's just so lovely meeting somebody who I chat to online, meeting them in real life, and they turn out to be every bit as lovely as they are online. So yeah, shout out Liam.
Oh, that's nice. So yeah, Brooklyn, that's coming up, and of course we've got our show in November. We're going back out, me and my brother and Chris from Nobody Here, we're going back out to LA the week after again for the Young Bass show, which is pretty massive too, and they've got kind of like a tape swap event going on the day before, which is also going to be huge. And we're going to be trying to catch up with people like George Clanton for their interviews. I think the main aim for us in the next month is going to be to wrap up every little bit of American filming that we need doing, because that'll be it. That'll be 80% of the film in the can. So all of the kind of understandable frustration and confusion about where the project has been sitting all this time will come to an end, and we'll be able to start putting some teasers out and sharing a bit of the content, because that's what our plan all along has been, is to start releasing some snippets so you can see how good the sets have looked for the interviews that we've done, and people can kind of get a taste for how good this film's going to look. And
I have to say, like, aesthetically, some of the stuff that you sent me a short thing a little while ago, it looks beautiful. Like visually, it's absolutely stunning in terms of how it's been set up. It's not just sat in front of in a bright room with a light on somebody, interviewing them. It's done really well. So
I saw it at the Runners Club piece that he did, and it just
and you want to see the footage that they got from the first Future Sounds event, because Sam came down with the camera and filmed there, and there's some beautiful footage from literally behind Carl and Maria on stage, and the crowd's kind of bouncing with them. It just it's pretty stunning. But obviously the hard work's in the edit, because it's about the details, about the questions, about what people are saying, and putting that side of things together is going to be the hardest part. But it's going to look good, really good.
Q1 23, do you reckon it will emerge?
I think that's the aim. The only thing that might delay that is that we were hoping to go to Japan to get in touch with a few like Seiko Mart, and maybe even stop over in Hong Kong and try and speak to the Neon City people. So there's a few, there's that side of things that we want to do, and there's also, because you have to choose a stopover somewhere on the way there and on the way back. There's a record shop in Bangkok who've been in touch with us. It's Bay. I'll put a link to them, but they're like they seem to specialize in a lot of city pop. They carry a lot of the main labels in the vaporwave scene's records, and there's clearly like some pretty cool cats in Bangkok who are collecting this vapor city pop style music, and it's they want to put on a show, so we might do a stop over there. And it's because we're trying to tell a global story at the end of the day. We could interview everyone on Zoom, but it would look shit, sound shit, rubbish, and it wouldn't really give the sense of what we're doing. And don't get me wrong, it's not a jolly. It's going to be this week and a half that we're in Brooklyn alone. Is the amount of people we've got to interview. It's going to be exhausting. My missus thinks I'm going on holiday, but
no, it sounds like holiday, seriously. when Rise of the Synths finally came out, it looked really beautiful. And then there was still criticism like, why didn't you interview so-and-so? Why was so-and-so?
But I understand now, and I was one of those people who was moaning.
Yeah.
Where has this been for 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
It might have been.
Well, I didn't get involved in that side of things because I didn't crowdfund it when it first came out. But I definitely was like, well, why haven't you spoken to X and why haven't you spoken to Y?
Probably because they've finished recording it 2 years previous.
But all the more as well. So, for example, and this is something, if you're listening to this and you're one of the people that wants to be involved who we've spoken to and we haven't yet tied up, this is the importance of trying to orchestrate the time that we have. We're there in Brooklyn for 8 days. This is just an example. The most you can possibly do with taking an hour to set up each individual interview is about 3 people a day. So we're already limited the amount of people we can speak to. America's fucking huge. So we're only going to have one chance to get to these places. And there are 1 or 2 people that we're still really struggling to nail down. People who definitely want to be involved, but who, for whatever reason, just haven't yet managed to nail down times. And if something slips from that day into another day, it might not be able to because we're only going to be in America with a camera for 8 days. We're only going to be on the East Coast of America with a camera for 8 days. And Chris will be doing some stuff. He's flying around. He's going to see Vito from DMTFL Records, which is down in kind of Miami way. He's going to go and speak to Grafton Tanner, who's this academic who's written a lot about nostalgia, and Thom probably would be able to do this more justice than me, but quite a few people who are neither East or West and who aren't going to either the Bay event in LA in September or the Electronicon in August. And just from a logistic point of view, I can see why the Rise of Synths people would have struggled, because if someone wasn't available at a time in which they were able to get there with their limited money, cost us over £1,000 a person to get there. We've only got the money that we raised.
Yeah.
And people think we raised 50 grand, but that was 50 grand that we had to pay for the records to be pressed and shipped out of.
Yeah, of course.
So it
I hope
includes
people are empathetic.
I think they are, yeah, by and large. Yeah. But seeing a bit of progress coming along, I probably sound a little bit chippy now, but seeing a bit of progress being made, I think, is really important for them, for us. I'll feel less stressed. Yeah. I've aged, lads. I've aged.
We're all older, all greyer.
But it's one of those things, it's like a beautiful idea. It's one of the most amazing projects I've ever had the privilege to be involved in. And yet it's also something I've realised that, not knowing anything about making a film, but thankfully people like Chris are involved in it, how bloody hard it is.
No, the money's crazy as well. Was it this film that got scrapped? Was it a Batgirl film or Catgirl film? Like Warner Brothers put $100 million into it, and then they just canned it. Yeah, never going to see the light of day.
Yeah,
it had the Michael Keaton Batman in it as well. Didn't it?
I was looking forward to that. That alone, making him canon. But someone will.
You won't be allowed to. I'm sure it's all,
It's probably part of it is to just literally destroy
it's probably tax write-off.
That's what people are saying, actually. Yeah, that and the Scooby-Doo movie, they're just tax write-offs.
But you got to say, if you get that far down the road with a movie that costs into the hundreds of millions, and you then realise that people don't like it, something it's gone wrong somewhere, hasn't it? For you to get to all to the point of the audience
loads
previews.
Of examples.
Yeah, probably.
It's just that this is a really high-profile story that people might have been excited about, or certainly been aware of.
Yeah.
The Vaporwave story. Yeah.
So you're going to wrap up,
or Batman?
Yeah. Well, the running joke that we have with Chris is that we'll just release a series of trailers, because that is the ultimate vaporware. Just keep advertising the product.
People have short attention spans these days anyway. You just release some trailers.
Exactly.
Yeah, we might just do a YouTube series. Just a series of 10 5-minute YouTube episodes. Yeah. I think that'll cover it.
Just do TikToks, mate.
Yeah,
maybe a podcast. Just do a podcast.
And then you'll wrap it up, and you'll start on number 2 immediately afterwards, because you love it so much. Yeah,
we'll go and redo the Synthwave one.
Yeah, make it better.
You reboot it.
No, we won't really do that.
Return of the Synth.
I don't think I ever want to be involved in a film again. Not for a while, anyway. I want my trips abroad to be holidays next year. That's my aim.
That's the thing. Is I definitely feel for you guys in the sense that I'll be there with you, and I'm quite keen to kind of see what you guys have got going on. But I can imagine I'm going to get there to you guys with lists of times and dates and stressing out over a beer. That I think would be in your initial planning days sort of thing. Be interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, we've laboured that, I suppose. But yeah, updates. It's exciting. Give us another 3 or 4 weeks, and I think we'll have 80% of the filming in the can. So it is exciting times for that.
FutureSounds.
Anything else? Any more for any more?
I don't know. That's about an hour's worth of audio.
Yeah, I think there's enough
bad.
chat there, isn't there? We can put some other music on if we need to as well.
2 things then. One is a shout to Glenn, who does the artwork for did the artwork for the first show and does the artwork for the pod. He's a Southampton fan who went all the way from London.
My condolences.
Yeah, saw his team get beat 4-1. But he did meet some nice Spurs fans, and I think he had a good kebab on Tottenham High Road. So
well worth it.
So shouts to Glenn. worth turning up for. And the other thing is, have you been watching the All or Nothing documentary?
I have.
My favourite thing. Go on. It's got to be the speakers, yeah. I'll tell. Okay, this is going to be a bit no context here. The manager of Arsenal. This is like an in-depth behind-the-scenes documentary. They want to present him as like a revolutionary thinker. So what he's done is, in the week before a big game, he's put speakers out on the side of the pitch where he's playing crowd noise from the stadium that they're going to be playing at on the weekend. But it looks like the speakers are about the size of speakers that you'd expect to see at an 8-year-old's karaoke party.
So primary school assembly kind of PA, isn't it? Yeah.
You know when you go into richer sounds and it's like the entry-level speaker and amplifier deal. £125. It's that kind of thing. It's just so
battery
bizarre.
powered, couple of D batteries.
Yeah, it's just so weird.
Yeah, David Brent vibes off that man.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, well, we'll be back very shortly as well with an interview that Tom's doing with Pizza Hotline, which I can't wait to hear. And obviously he's one of the guests that will be playing at the next Future Sounds, which is Double Vision. It's on the 12th of November, 6 p.m. till late. You can get tickets at future-sounds.co.uk. The headliner, if you want to call him that, is Cat System Corp's first ever live performance in the UK. You've got Eve.exe coming down from Scotland. You've got Donalend. You've got our favourite house band, Iverson, bringing the vibes. You've got Enzo and Patrick Fakeman's Lost City Pop set, which will be slightly tweaked, but finally delivered. Who knows? Have I missed anyone? That's it, I think.
And there might be some surprises at the end of the evening, but we'll see, won't we?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
just leave it at that for now.
We'll leave it at that for now, yeah. And more. Cool. All right then, guys. Well, I will see you in a few days, yeah.
Cool.
Easy now.
Easy now.